or
Yeah, I can,
Frederick.
or Frederick. Yeah. I think there's a bigger picture than what I worked on. I did some interop with the AMT, which I can go over. But then I think the freerider people did some beer work as well, if I remember right. So it might be good to at least get Frederick in there, but I'm happy to supplement on AMT as well.
Right. Frederick, are you on, and would you like to give an update on the hackathon?
Well, actually, the hackathon took place, and
well, not yet,
basically.
but can you when we get to that part?
You mean? But the thing is that in the hackathon, the topic was not related to multicast.
Okay.
So that's
gotcha.
Unfortunate.
Okay. Can everyone see my slide, my agenda slide? And note well, is that visible?
Yes.
Great. Okay. So we've got a note taker. I'm not sure if there's a need for a dropper scribe, but would we like one of those? Warren, you seem to be, in the past, you've done an exceptional job at jabber scribery.
Happy to do.
Okay. Thank you, Warren.
Nope.
This is MOD. If you give me a sec, I can try and find it. Yeah. Well, you could leave. I just need to sign in through the web version to scribe.
Yeah, I don't think we've had much for the JabberScribe to do recently since we've.
Yep, that's why I'm happy to do it.
Okay, I think we're getting to quorum here. We have a note taker. We have a JabberScribe. And I think we have all of our presenters on. And we have a healthy list of attendees. So let's get started. First, welcome to IETF 113 in Vienna. You're in the MBONED meeting. Hopefully you intended to be here. If not, welcome aboard. You're going to have a lot of fun. The best part of this meeting today is I can guarantee we will be done early. Here is a note well. As always, please note all of these things well and pay close attention to the recent focus on respectful participation. And meeting tips, you've probably seen this by now, though not in purple, and I'm not quite sure it came in purple, but it is. For those of you for whom it is very early, this might help serve to wake you up a little bit more effectively. But everybody, even if you're in the room, should be signed into the Meet Echo tool. That's how we will manage the mic queue. And remote participants, you guys have all been participating remotely, so I think you guys know what to do. Okay, here's our agenda. We'll go through the working group items. There'll be a very brief update on the hackathon. There was a little bit of work done. Most of it was not related to multicast, so that'll go quickly. Sandy is going to give an update on the redundant ingress failover draft. And then Jake will go through all of his various drafts as well as a W3C update. Anything to add? Anything I missed? Anything to bash on this agenda? Okay, moving right along. In terms of active working group documents, The Yang models, since last meeting, there were, Sandy mentioned, there's no substantive updates, but she is seeking one more really good review, not one more round of really good reviews. So if folks have the time, we would love for folks to review this document. Sandy, do you have anything else you want to add about that document? You are, how do I?
Okay. Oh.
Yep, Sandy, you can
Yes.
go.
Okay. Last year, we updated the draft according to some comments from Jakes and Gian. So we'd like to find more review, especially from Jake and Gian for it. So thank you for advance.
Great. Yep. And any other folks who are interested in Yang models, we also encourage you, in addition to Gian and Jake. The telemetry draft, I got an update from the authors. They are about to update it soon. There are several drafts upon which this document depends that are in working group last call and other working groups, and that should be completed soon. So once that gets done, they will update, and they plan to present this in IETF 114. I don't know that we have anybody else. Oh, actually, Mike, did you want to say anything else about what I just about the telemetry draft?
Yeah, that other working group is IPPM. It's IP Performance Group and Performance Management Group, and they're the ones that are handling the unicast versions of this draft, and so those are the drafts that this draft is dependent upon. So as they progress, which they should soon, then we can progress this one. We did, last time we updated this, added a couple other authors, and they made some good contributions. And once the other drafts do progress in IPPM, we probably will pretty quickly ask for this one to be reviewed and progress, because when we submitted this draft, it was actually, it's one of those rare drafts that when we submitted it, it's almost ready to go kind of a thing. So anyway, yeah, we keep it alive and we give minor updates to it, and we will present it, as you mentioned, at the next IETF.
Jake, you have something to add?
There's implementations.
Say that one more time.
When you said that's ready to go, do you mean that there's implementations, or?
No, that it's complete as far as the work in the draft is concerned. I don't think this working group has a requirement for implementations, but I could be wrong.
Great, thanks. Then there are, of course, the multicast to the browser drafts, the 4, and Jake's going to provide updates on this later in the agenda, or later. He's next up. The ingress, redundant ingress failover. This is a document that is currently has an adoption call underway. And actually, and that working group adoption call goes through this Friday. So far we've had a number, I haven't counted, but there has been some responses, but we'd love to have more. Please, it's a short draft. Please do take a look and respond whether you would or would not like to adopt, and any substantive comments as well. And actually, I believe Sandy is going to talk about this next. So let's see what else. What's up on the agenda? Okay, next up on the agenda is a hackathon update. So Frederick, I believe you said the component of the hackathon that you were involved in was not multicast related. So if that's the case, maybe Jake, if you want to speak up about what you're aware of.
Sure. So I spent the hackathon weekend getting IPv6 to work with the AMT gateway Docker container, and running that against my own relays. So I did successfully stream and listen to music over V4 in V4 tunnel, V6 in V4 tunnel, V6 in V6 tunnel, and V6 in V4 in V6 tunnel. So all the combinations. In addition, earlier today, Saba pinged me on the free router chat, and we did a bit of interop with their implementation as well. The free router AMT gateway was able to connect to my relays and also successfully listen to music over all 4 of those combinations. And then so far, this was only half an hour ago, but so far I've tried V4 over V4 and V6 over V4 against their stream and their relay, and I have yet to try the 2 over the V6 relays yet, but that's anticipated. There were like a couple of bugs, so if you have it, both on mine and on theirs, I think that there was an update from Saba. I don't know like what their kind of commit process is like, but I think the one he's running now has a quick patch in it, and maybe that'll be upstreamed appropriately. Anyway, so the AMT gateway Docker container and the AMT relay D now are both confirmed with them, each of those talking to themselves and to the free router implementation for V6 and V4, I think, with one set of tests still pending.
So
And that's really all I know about.
cool. So Jake, first meant to start sending here. So Jake, essentially what was added and what's new and what's unique is the AMT relay and V6 enabled relay and gateway. You didn't make any changes to FF, MPEG, or VLC. Those just worked.
Yeah, that's correct. Those just worked. So this is, of course, with an external gateway, not the embedded gateway inside VLC, but with the external relay, then those just work for both V4 and V6 SSM. I did not try ASM, but I don't care. So
Gotcha.
I'm willing to try it if somebody else wants to, but I haven't tried it yet. I think it'll be fine because for the client side, it's going to be very identical.
Great. Anybody else involved in the hackathon have anything to add? Any other background or commentary that is related to multicast? Okay. In that case, let's move on to Sandy. And I will bring up those slides. Okay. Sandy, can you see the slide? And you are ready to go.
Yes.
And I believe you should have control over this slide, I think. Can you?
I can. If I can choose the slides, this is share your is sharing your screen, and I can do the control work. I'm not very sure. How can I do it?
Are you able
Can
to?
push it down? I think I can't. No.
There. How about now?
Let me try. It seems I can't move it. I can't page down.
No luck? This doesn't work now?
No work.
Okay. All right. You just tell me and I'll take. Okay. Let me redo this again.
Okay, thank you. Okay, hello everyone, and I'm Sunny Zhang from ZTE. This presentation is for the update of multicast redundant ingress router failover draft. We have co-author Greg Yisong from China Mobile and Ying Chen from China Unicom. Next, please.
Hold on a second here. Doesn't seem to want to let me move this thing.
So this is the brief introduction of this draft. Usually, two ingress routers are deployed for avoiding single node failure. And the two ingress router can forward a same multicast flow. For the egress routers, which connect the receivers, they can select the UMH for multicast flow forwarding. There are three modes can be used for ingress routers protection for or faster switch over. There are cool standby modes and warm standby mode and the hot standby mode. The three standby modes can be used with all the existed multicast technologies such as PIM, BEER, P2MPT Eternal, or MLDP. The cost and the influence of the three modes are different. The network administrator should select the appropriate mode according to the service requirements. Seems I can page down the slides. Okay, I can do the control. It works now. So this is the update of version 02. We added a section for failure detection according to Jake's comments. Thanks, Jake. In order to achieve the successful IR switch over, BFD or ping methods can be used for monitor the IR node failure or path failure between IR and the ERs. For BFD methods, BFD FC5880 can be used in all the deployments. Multi-point BFD FC8562 can also be used for the failure detection between IR and the ERs. BFD for MPLS LSPs, that is FC5884, can be used in P2MPT Eternal or MLDP deployments. BEER BFD can be used in BEER deployment. For ping methods, IPv4 ping FC0792 and IPv6 ping FC4443 can also be used in all the deployments. LSP ping FC8029 can be used for P2MPT Eternal or MLDP deployments. BEER ping can also be used in BEER deployment. So backup IR and ER can detect the selected IR node and path failure easily by these methods. When ER detects the failure of SIR, ER must signal to BIR as soon as possible, or ER can get the flow from BIR in advance. When BIR detects the failure of SIR, BIR takes over the SIR's responsibility and forwards flow to ERs. But the mistaken switchover may occur because in case only the path between BIR and the SIR fails. In this situation, ER may receive duplicate flow. So, so this is the during the adoption call. We received many useful comments. Thanks, Jake, and again, we plan to add more information and details in future version. We will add the signaling procedure of the three modes between IR and ER to make it more clearly. details will be added for the existing optimization method used in failure detection. For example, RC 9026, and some clarification for VPN and non-VPN deployment will be added, and some language improvement will be done. So, thanks all the support, and we welcome more comments for it. That's all. Thank you.
For Sandy?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. And just a reminder, again, this is still in the adoption call till Friday. So please, we'd love folks to review and at least mention whether you support or do not support adoption of this document by the working group. Jake, are you ready to talk for your next, or do you have a question about this draft?
I did actually have a question about this draft. Same question, actually. Is there an implementation along these lines in open daylight or any production environments that you're basing this on, or is this more theoretical at this point?
In fact, there's many. Yes, because there's many technologies included in this draft, and we have deployed some technologies such as PIN, and beer has not been used widely, so there is no beer deployment for it, but there's many PIN deployment for it. So we usually use warm standby or sort of hot standby mode for deployment. So for hot standby mode, there is duplicate flow in the network. So it can only be used in very large broadband network. So and if there is some network that has no very large band, where one is, and also the maybe the just warm standby or cold standby mode can be used for it. Generally, PIM is used more than other technologies. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, now I'm ready, Lenny. Do you want me to step out or?
No.
Yeah.
Let me bring your slides up.
I think I can request, I can share some preloaded slides. Does that work?
Actually, you do have the power to do that, but I just did it for you here. Let's go here. Okay. Now, are you able to control?
Let's see. I thought, oh, there we go.
Oh.
Yes. Share. Awesome. Okay. And I think I have that. Excellent. Okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks. Yeah, I'll be talking about the 4 active drafts and basically where things stand in terms of this project for what we're doing. What I'll be going over is kind of progress reports. I had a few things I talked about that I was waiting to see how they panned out that I had mentioned in the IETF update. So I'll be giving the follow-ups on those. I'll be going over the overall project status and giving a brief overview of the things that are sort of actively in progress right now. I would say there's a number of things kind of in the background that I won't really be touching on, but the sort of major standards-based pieces of it that are that I know of that are making some progress. And then I'll conclude with my requests for action. So I'd like people to consider and hopefully take going forward for what's like kind of going on now or imminently. So the follow-ups from IETF112 were kind of negative. You know, the outcome of the sec dispatch discussion was that the discussion on the multicast security document was dispatched to the MSec list. I sent out invites, but nobody responded to anything yet. So that was a bit disappointing. I think it indicates there's no way I'm asking for a BOF at present. However, this the sort of direction we outlined here, I think we did get a little bit of useful feedback from raising it there, and that that feedback and the sort of our thinking that went into this draft is still guiding what we intend to do in the near term towards still reaching the browser use case eventually. But I think I do consider this a mild setback for the moment. Likewise, the W3C web transport working group was, I had an issue open with them requesting that they would add multicast as a use case from the W3C side. They rejected it on 2 points. One is that they are uninterested unless there's browsers expressing an interest, and that it's also premature. At least that was in the minutes at their meeting. The comments indicated that this really needs IETF work before W3C can consider taking it on. So that is driving part of the work that we're moving forward with now as well. Lenny, I see you in the queue.
Yeah, so maybe this is a question for Warren as well. Advice here. It seems like we have a lot of circular dependencies here. We're trying to add this to the browser. The browser people are saying there's not enough. People are asking for this. There's not enough demand. There's not enough IETF activity on this, and yet you seem to be generating IETF activity and interest. So how do we kind of break through this logjam? And is there something we as a working, and so maybe a question to Warren as well, is there something we as a working group can be providing as feedback to say, hey, this would be valuable. We've got operators have spoken up, and several other folks have spoken up that this is interesting, and yet, there seems to be a little bit less agreement from others on that. So, what do you suggest, both Jake and Warren?
So for the first thing, let me suggest that we table that till the end of the till the last slide where I'm asking for actions, and because I do have one related thing that I'd like to discuss, and we can discuss whether there's a better thing to do or what the kind of ideas are in this space. But let me first just kind of paint the whole picture overall and tell you where I'm headed and what I think is the right kind of response to this. But I am happy to take suggestions and feedback. Warren, anything you want to throw on top of that?
Hopefully you've got a good idea for the suggested actions, because I don't.
All right, great. Then, and I do want to say it's this criticism that it requires IETF work first is not necessarily saying that, as I understand it, is not necessarily saying that there's no IETF interest. It's rather saying that the work to make this viable for web transport has not yet occurred in the IETF. And so the W3C web transport cannot reasonably consider it. So that was my take on it. Now, whether that will go forward or whether we'll hit a similar wall when I try to take this to Quick, that is to be determined, and that's where I was going to go with that question, which we'll talk about a little bit more later. Anyway, so in light of these kind of setbacks, our current strategy is to begin some we're aiming to do some production deployment that's going to be deployment of. So I don't know if it'll be interdomain in the very first run, but we are aiming to do some interdomain multicast production deployment without browser support, and under the understanding that in the long term we still are going to need to get to the browser. But we think that, you know, in the beginning, I was kind of thinking in terms of if we can get some browser support that's there on the way, then this will make it more attractive to ISPs, which I think is true. However, I think the other way also goes, the other way around also applies. If we can make this, if we can get some traffic running in some real ISPs, then it will make it more attractive to browsers. So, you know, as always with multicast, we have a chicken and egg problem, and we're trying to address it, and we can address it kind of on either side. But I think that they support one another, right? First, you make a thing that's not quite a lizard, but also isn't yet a chicken, and that lays an egg that has a that grows into a chicken, right? So, anyway, we are not abandoning that effort, but I do consider this a minor setback, but I think this is not unexpected when encountering security feedback for the first time. So that's where that stands. So in terms of overall project status, and this is kind of the you know, the Akamai funding-ish view, we have moved this project out of R&D and into a product team, and we're trying to now find the right set of partners or even single partner to take this forward into a production run that we can start deploying. But we think we've convinced ourselves that this has a real business case, and that's not quite the same as me, engineering hacker, saying it sounds like a good idea. That's more like the people who tried to shoot it down because that's their job, you know, ended up concluding that, okay, this probably is worth looking at in more detail. And provided we can get some partners, the intent is to go ahead with this as of now. So we are in talks with a few partners and looking to make that work out. If other people think that they'd be good partners for this too, then we'd be happy to engage with them as well. So anybody here that wants to ping me about that, please do feel free, and we can talk about it. I can get you in touch with the right people. So yeah, we're aiming to get like some traffic running within the next 1 or 2 years. Probably we'd start that out in you know, some limited networks for the first few runs, and then expand it out into the generalized interdomain stuff. At least that's the plan. And we are still aiming to address both software downloads and video. So that is key to kind of making those peak offloads be actually addressable for the networks and for ourselves. So in terms of getting to the browser ultimately, which we, like I said, do still consider a very important thing to solve in the end. We've just started a draft that tries to extend Quick. This tries to build on the Quick multi-path that was very recently adopted in the Quick working group. And it's, I mean, it'll be different because it's going to be multicast, but it actually has kind of a lot of overlap with the kinds of things they're discovering in the Quick working group about multicast as they do the implementation and evaluation. So we're hoping to leverage some of that work, and we're also hoping that this will actually make it simpler at the application layer, because it's going to be at least mostly transparent to the web applications that would be making use of it. So they won't have to do anything special except maybe like enable it or disable it at the high level and sort of permit the underlying stack to use multicast or not use multicast. But that's the intended direction we're going. As a rough overview, I have the link to our GitHub repo where we've posted an early version of the draft. This doesn't have much content. It's just a like the abstract and intro and outline and a few security considerations, including a link to the other document. So none of this is adopted, and there are many ways this could go wrong, but this is our current plan for how to move this forward. We'd be baking it into Quick, so it's going to be built on a unicast connection as your sort of anchor that provides all the security guarantees and probably in a similar way to Ambi, the stream of hashes. But that'll be instructing the client to, if you are willing and able, go ahead and join this multicast stream. You'll be receiving quick packets. They'll be encrypted. They'll hopefully match up with our security considerations for multicast insights, and then they'll be interpreted as just another unidirectional data stream on the Quick side. So we think we can transport, or we think it makes really good sense to transport unidirectional web transport streams from server to client this way, and also probably H3, the server push for web objects. Unfortunately, browsers are removing the server push cache and the server push feature from browsers right now. However, through the web transport unidirectional streams, it still should be possible to kind of implement that yourself as inside your web app. So, ultimately we'll hopefully have demos of this and some stuff running and a coherent document to present. Lucas Pardue has agreed to co-author this. He's the first author on the other multicast over Quick HTTP draft. This is a little bit different because this is going to be operating at the Quick layer, whereas that one was operating at the HTTP layer and using alt service, whereas this one will be using quick frames. There'll be new quick frames, kind of loosely based on the multipath approach. But this is where we're headed as a very tentative target, which I probably shouldn't put in because this is perhaps optimistic. I was hoping to get a prototype and initial spec to present in July to the Quick Working Group. We'll see how that goes. This could be superseded by our if I have to spend a lot of time on the partner deployment efforts, which actually would be even better than this in terms of making this project a success. But I do think that this is an important thing to have on the roadmap for how we get into the browser, and this is our current kind of plan. So this could slip, but I am hoping to have something coherent to present in July, and if not, then maybe later this year. Yeah, so that's where the browser effort stands. I want to say thanks to Max for a bunch of feedback and PRs on the Ambi draft. That is slowly coming into shape. I've been a little distracted and haven't done a whole lot on actually advancing these documents. I've been working more toward getting deployment to be viable. But it is ultimately obviously going to be very important to have this well documented. And I think his contributions have really helped to shape it up. Yeah, it's still kind of undetermined whether the Quick will reference this one or do something a little bit different but similar, or what exactly, but that'll be kind of hammered out as we get the Quick thing farther along. But I was really glad to see that Ambi is actually progressing a little bit, which was nice. In other news, we have still been meeting regularly at the W3C Multicast Community Group. I'd encourage you all to join. There's a link to the w3.org/community/multicast here. And even if you're just on the mailing list, or if you take a look at the meeting minutes or recordings, then you'll be getting monthly updates on this. So if you're interested in watching, then keep an eye on it. Meanwhile, you know, I'm getting some code contributions from some of the multicast community group members, which I'm really pleased about. So thanks in particular to Gavin Henry for some of his work on libmcrx. He's taking a look at adding Windows support, which is great. But what we've already upstreamed from that was integration. The CI/CD pipeline integrated Coverity scanning, so it is now scanning for problems and vulnerabilities that it can do a static analysis. And it found several errors that we fixed in libmcrx, so that is in better shape now than it was. And rates to remain in better shape as we extend it further. That's meant to be a cross-platform SSM receive library, and I frequently use it for my testing. But we can go into more details about what that has. I've talked about it before in the group, but not recently. Yeah. So in conclusion, the things I'd like to consider doing as a working group. For one, I'd like to go ahead and start the dorms last call. I think I haven't had any more reviews. So if I'm not going to get any, then we might as well go ahead. I think it's in reasonable shape, if I remember right. It's I didn't actually read it all the way through last month, but last I looked, I didn't have any notes left on it, I think. I believe I've incorporated all the comments that have been made so far. Second is I'd like to make dorms, Ambi, and CBAC into a cluster so that they can refer to each other and get handled in a sort of clustering way for the RFC editor. If anyone is able, please do post to MSAC at IETF in response to the discussion about the security considerations document. I think even just asking stupid questions and getting some discussion going would be a useful expression of interest there. And we might be able to learn some things and understand more about the right problem space, especially if we can get any of the existing security experts on that list to kind of engage as well. So for the other is that MNAT, I think the only feedback I've gotten so far was that it looks pretty good, well thought out. You know, I looked through it and there's 8 things I have marked as TBDs. I did not actually address those, but what I propose is that I should address those 8 TBDs and then open it up for last call, or at least get some more reviews going. You know, one of those. And I don't think it's had enough review, honestly, yet. Although I was encouraged by the people who did respond so far, so that was good. And then the other thing is, and maybe set a timer to reconfirm, but when they ask for conflict avoidance for the meeting scheduling, let's make sure we don't collide with Quick next time if we can, so I can make it to both if that's still on the table. Like I said, there's a chance this will slip, so if it slips, then maybe I'll want to move that request to November or something. And then, but then, and here's where we get back to the original comment that we deferred till now. Lenny previously offered on the list, like, should we as a working group request that something security area or transport area or the quick working group or whoever is the right set of people, but express to them that this is a valuable use case from the point of view of the MBOND working group in some official manner, and ask them to engage and evaluate with the work. And I think that the answer is yes, once we have a concrete proposal. We do not really yet, but if this is a worthwhile direction, then I think that's where it would be really valuable. I guess we might have something concrete to ask about with the with the security considerations, but I think it was a fair point that they want to have an actual proposal for the protocol we're proposing for transporting web traffic over multicast in order to consider. And that is like, it's hard to really get good security considerations in the abstract. So so it's a fair point, but you know, I leave that to further questioning, really. So that's all I've got. So yeah, how about Lenny? Let's hear what you have to say.
Sounds good to me. I think you covered it all. You answered my questions. So,
okay.
Questions from anyone else for Jake?
Let me ask Warren. You said you were hoping I had a good idea. I don't know if this is a good idea. It's an idea.
So yeah, Warren Kumari, Google. Yeah, I mean, at least it's an idea. I don't know of a better one. Other than just like continuing to people, this is the best idea ever, and hope that they pay attention. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I really do think that the interest level will rise if there are ISPs that are doing delivery of interdomain multicast. My take is that you know, right now there's high skepticism that this will actually end up getting deployed. So I think the deployment work is the key to this, to getting that engagement. There might be more because the web security people are they've had a lot of people pushing on them about security considerations that they don't agree with, and this does expose information to the network in ways that make them uncomfortable. We tried to address all that in the security considerations document, and I think it's a reasonable way to look at things, but yeah, we'll have to see. Hey, Sandy, I saw you in the queue, I think. Or unmuting, maybe.
No, because I see that you will implement the multicast over quick. So if multicast will implement it with quick, so will the AMT still be used forever, or every multicast will be on quick?
So AMT would still be used for the interdomain transport wherever there's not a multicast capable peering that does the. So it's so the way that the AMT would still be used is in Quick. You would tell the client that, hey, client, please join this multicast group. And then the client would join that multicast group, and then you have your regular, how are you going to transport that multicast? How are you going to do the RPF? How are you going to get it transmitted? Question that we always have with multicast, right? So this can use AMT. It can also use not AMT and be, you know, it should work just fine for connecting to traffic that's sourced within the network, but it also would work with the Dryad extension, or with the, in theory, with the well-known IP, if there's anybody running those relays, to ingest the traffic from outside the network. So we still intend to start with AMT access for interdomain transport, but it should work to do other kinds of transport as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I don't see
Any other questions for Jake?
Any better ideas? I don't love this. I don't love this plan. I wish I had something a little bit better than, well, first I'll go implement a whole quick extension and then I'll hope that they like it. But it's what I've got, so it's at least
if you
something
build
I
it,
can do.
If you build it, they will come.
How long have you been saying that, Lenny?
days. It's the a blind as a broken clock is right twice a day. So at some point we're going to be right about that.
Almost long enough. That's the answer. Yes,
Yes.
almost long enough. All right.
How about
Yeah, then-
bad idea? Whose time has come? I don't know. That's
No, you know, people don't think this is going to work, but I think that we're really getting a crunch on capacity in some ways. You know, maybe there will be a renaissance in the layer one transport at the last mile and it will make all this obsolete, but I don't see it happening. So I don't know how else we're going to get the level of demand covered for these peak events.
yeah. I think it's worth noting that we're about to have perhaps an inflection point for this topic with the NFL this fall, where Amazon Prime has exclusive rights to streaming of Thursday night football games, and you're going to have audiences of 20 to 40 million simultaneous viewers for 3 hours a week for 16 weeks a year, 16, 17 weeks a year. And you know,
The other
doing
thing
that purely with unicast is really going to be challenging. So I think we're at an interesting point.
I think we may have passed the inflection point in some places. There was a similar situation with the zone in Italy that really began last year, I think, where they got rights to Serie A, which is the the Italian football most popular team, and they, there's been a lot of press about how that went, and they did do some attempt to address it with multicast, as I understand it, but it seems like it wasn't enough. According to the statements they made last November, multicast helped a lot, but they still have a ways to go because it was only in one network, and they needed to do to get kind of more to really make it satisfactory to their end users. So I think we're past the inflection point, really, but there's still open questions on how it's going to land. Anyway, that's all kind of not really protocol work. Okay, so I'm done.
Well, in the movies, there's always the one person who spends years proactively trying to save the day and gets ignored, and in the end does save the planet. So I think we're following that script. Any other questions for anybody else? Anything anybody wants to add before closing the meeting? For those wondering why we took 2 hours, every time I've signed up for 1 hour slots, we've blown through that. So we took 2, but it was a shorter agenda this week. So anyway, I will close this meeting and we will see everybody in Philadelphia. Thanks for everybody for joining. Max, thanks for taking notes and sitting in the director's chair. And thanks for everybody else. And look forward to seeing everybody in Philly. Farewell.
No worries. Thank you. Yep. See you around. Bye.